This is yet another
DC animated podcast. Welcome to yet another episode of yet another DC animated podcast. My name is Shamar Griffith, codename Comic Shams.
And I am Andrew Tejada, codename Arte.
And today we are joined by a very special guest today for a very special episode. I will go ahead and introduce Anders Drew. Anders, go ahead and introduce yourself, man.
Hey guys, I'm Anders Drew. I don't really have a code name, but that's okay.
You actually have to go through several pieces of training first in order to get your code name.
Yeah, I have various titles over on the yet another Star Wars podcast feed and on the Bohemian Geek Studies feed.
Oh, actually, that might qualify. We will.
But no, great to be here with you guys.
Mm-hmm. And we're very happy to have you here because today we're taking a quick break from the end of the DC Anime podcast Sweet or Sour season because we wanted to pay respects to a great person, great voice actor. We recently, as we're recording this podcast right now, we just learned the news of the passing of Kevin Conroy, who has been the voice of Batman for our entire generation, basically for about 30 years, over a series of different DC animated and DC live action content. So I guess just first, just wanted to check in with y'all. How are y'all doing? How are y'all feeling?
Yeah, I mean, I'll jump in and say, first thing I kind of thought of when I heard the news was that I wouldn't be here doing this without Kevin Conroy. His work on Batman the Animated Series particularly is what kind of brought me into watching DC things when I was a kid, and his influence could be felt over all those shows. So kind of like his performance was just so magnetic. It was so true to a character. It was such a good voice acting performance that transcends voice acting, in my opinion, and it just feels like he is on that screen with you in animated form. So it took me back. It took me back to why we started doing this and everything, about being true to these stories and reminding people of how great these stories are. And I think Kevin Conroy is unquestionably instrumental in that, in getting these stories out.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, when I first saw the news, I did not believe it. I forget what the source was or something like that, but I was like, no, there's no way. There's no way.
Right.
And then I just keep thinking about. I mean, I watched some of the animated series when I was little. I remember I did go see Mask of the Phantasm in the theater, but I didn't really get into the show until much later. I think I was in like my early to mid 20s when I actually like sat down and watched it all the way through. And yet, if I think of Batman, that's always what I go to. That's always what I actually think of first. It's not Christian Bale. It's not even Michael Keaton. It's Conroy. It's the animated Batman. And I still almost don't fully believe that he's gone.
Mm-hmm. I agree. It still does feel surreal. I also was kind of checking. It's just like, this can't be true. We unfortunately live in a time in which many of these hoaxes come out about the passing of someone, and it was just like, I was even thinking to myself that Kevin Conroy, one, I wasn't entirely too sure how old he was, but at the same time, I was just like, you know what, he's gonna be around for decades. Like, I'm gonna be introducing younger generations, I felt, to Batman the Animated Series, and not in the sense of just like, this was the good era of television or anything like that, but rather there's just so many moments in which it was just very impactful Um, Kevin Conroy's version of Batman helped to influence several other versions of Batman. You can see little bits and pieces of there. I mean, the I Am Vengeance from the recent, well, I guess the Robert Pattinson or Pattinson version, just adopting the I Am Vengeance is pulled right from a line that Kevin Conroy kind of I just made just became an icon with. Um, so I agree. It still does feel surreal, and but I am shocked, but I am appreciative of the impact that he's had. And speaking of that impact, quick stat that I found out was that Kevin Conroy brought the hero of Batman to life across 60 different projects, including 15 films, 15 animated series, and almost 400 episodes, culminating in over 100 hours of television. And he also starred as the live action Bruce Wayne on the Arrowverse's Crisis on Infinite Earths crossover event from 2019 to 2020.
That was a moment.
Yeah.
So just a couple times, he just did it a couple
Yeah,
times
just a little
here
bit.
and
Just,
there.
yeah. Just when he was not doing anything else. He was just, taking the break as Batman. That's basically what he was doing. um Another thing that I came across was not too long ago, Kevin Conroy actually wrote his own comic in which he addressed what it was like being a gay man and how voicing Batman helped to just, help him to feel a bit more confident in himself and change his own way of seeing the world. So I kind of want to open it up to both of you, Andrew and Anders, just like what was an impactful moment, whether it be on television or in your lives of which you Kevin Conroy had when on your own personal lives, like something that when you look back and you're just like, yeah, that's a Kevin Conroy moment.
Man, it's almost impossible to narrow it down to one. I mean, obviously, his work in Killing Joke, my favorite animated DC movie. No.
I still want to listen to that unaired pilot of this podcast where you guys did that.
Yeah.
We'll send it over to you if you send us an unaired pilot episode of another Star Wars podcast. And Bohemian Geek says we want two.
But yeah, I think I'm gonna cheat because I think when I think of my favorite Kevin Conroy Batman scenes, they all have the same theme of he gets Batman to a place where, 90% of the time, Batman is punching clavicles and giving you permanent brain damage just for jaywalking down the street. So the times where Kevin Conroy would bring Batman back to a place of why would you keep doing this? Why would you keep um going out and stopping crime and trying to save these people who are just too gone? I think stick out to me. So two in particular, even though I joke about the movie as a whole, his Killing Joke monologue to the Joker of trying to rehabilitate him and trying to reach out to him. You can feel the empathy underneath all the darkness, the moment where he sees himself in the Joker. And it's really tied up there with Arkham City when spoilers if you haven't played this 10-year-old game. But
I'm still waiting on my PS5, Andrew. I'm waiting for so I could get the digital version of it.
It was on the PS3. Come on, guys. But yeah, so he has the Joker and he has a syringe to cure the Joker from a disease. And the Joker knocks it over and Batman just goes, despite everything you've done, the funny thing is I still would have saved you. And that inspires the Joker to laugh. So yeah, it's the moments where he could find the empathy in this dark, bleak character and really make us believe and convince us to why he was doing it. I think stick out for me in any product he's done, but those two moments in particular really hit me on a deep level.
Yeah, I do not think I could pick a particular moment that's for of his actual performances. I don't think I could pick a particular moment. I mean, as you said, there's hundreds of hours of it to
Mhm.
go through, but the moment actually, I mean, you mentioned it a little bit in the intro, that I realized how much him as that character actually meant to me was when they announced that he was going to be in the Crisis on Infinite Earths on the Arrowverse, that he was actually going to get the chance to wear the bat suit
Mhm.
in live action. And just feeling that the impact of that, not only for me, but basically across the internet, that was probably one of the biggest announcements they made around that whole special. Quality of the special itself, take or leave, but but just getting a chance to see that and thinking about what that probably meant to him
Mhm.
after spending all those hours in the recording booth to actually wear that on screen and be Batman.
Wow, yeah, I remember we were talking about this, I think, at one point, the same Crisis on Infinite Earths. And I do remember when I read the news, I kind of like ran back and forth and I was like, Kevin Conroy's gonna be back. Yes. It was like it was honestly there was nothing else that can beat it. And I think it was even when they announced that Tom Welling was returning as Clark Kent. And I was just like, we don't care about that anymore. Kevin Conroy is gonna be Batman.
He got to wear flannel for 10 years.
Yeah. And he came back with no powers. But Batman, he came back with a whole exosuit.
Came back with a vengeance.
And at the night. So yeah, those are, man, I'm just thinking back and those are some really great moments. And I love the fact that even just hearing it out now, that was a moment in animation, in video games, and live action.
Mhm.
So we've basically covered almost every medium in which one could be Batman, including films, because we also did talk about Mask of the Phantasm. So I think that for me, something that does resonate are just some the little moments. I Since this morning, I've actually been playing Batman the Animated Series in the background. Thankfully for HBO Max Discovery, whatever your names are now. Um, hashtag not sponsored. We have to throw that in just in case. Just in case. Um, but as I was listening to his performances, you have those iconic moments of where he first meets the Scarecrow for the first time, and others the lines of "I am the night, I am vengeance, I am Batman." That's always a big moment. But the moment that really clicked for me was there are several scenes in which Kevin Conroy really showed that not only is he Batman, but he's also Bruce Wayne. You can tell in the slightest change in his voice when he pops back and forth between being vengeance and being that billionaire playboy. And that's something that you hardly see that much of within one particular show. There's a lot of voice actors, no discredit to them, of course, but because they have so many characters in their resume, they have these different shows in which they can play them out. But Kevin Conroy had to adopt the identity of two individuals in this show, and you can hear it very just even through the smallest things of when he decides to be playful with the character of Batman or as Bruce Wayne, and then when he's deciding, okay, I need to be serious, and that I can see why he was always the first choice for Batman the Animated Series, Batman the Arkham games, in Crisis on Infinite Earths. Even up until now, I think he was also the voice of Batman within the Justice League Action series that was recently airing on Cartoon Network. So for me, that was a sign of just how much of an impact that he has because he understood the assignment, he understood what he had to do, he understood his role, and he decided to run with it. He decided to grapple hook and swing through the streets of Gotham with it. So, um, just saying once again, thank you to Kevin Conroy. Um, here's where we would pour one out for our fallen knights. So if you have them, I currently actually am drinking from my Batman mug and my Batman shot glass.
Oh yeah. Oh,
Oh,
that's
wow.
that's full.
Yep,
That's
yep,
that'll
yep,
take
That's
yep.
down
not a
me.
full. I don't know who you grew up with, but that is not a shot glass.
I grew up with Batman. There's a lot of he had to learn. But just want to thank again, because Kevin Conroy, like Andrew, like you said, he really helped to inspire this kind of podcast here in a bit. We can see so many ways in which the influence echoes out through not only just DC entertainment, but throughout all forms of entertainment. So that's why I'm glad that we got a chance to speak with you, Anders.
Yeah, thank you guys. I do have one last point. Actually, you just made me think of this.
Mhm.
Talking about the Bruce Wayne performance, it really is his Bruce Wayne, as I think back through various iterations we've had over the years, is kind of the only one that we ever really get to see, or in this case here, be emotional. I'm thinking about Mask of the Phantasm when he has that breakdown by his parents' grave. He's actually crying. Every live action Batman, they're just like stoic. They're
Yeah.
very still. Anytime when they would be kind of emotional, they're dead silent. And he's one of the only ones who actually had a chance to really explore that side of Bruce Wayne. And he did such an amazing job with it.
Mm-hmm. Oh man, that's a real I forgot about that, and it's something that I like. I think that's also another reason why I kind of like always gravitated to Kevin Conroy's voicing of Bruce Wayne. So
Yeah.
thank you.
Yeah, was Jorah on Titans not good enough? Not emotional enough for you?
No, he was not.
Hey, we can't have any more Titans talk. We're not sponsored. They just started the new season. I'm not trying to have Nightwing come after me.
I mean, I'll take Titus as Lex Luthor, but
That's true. That's good. That's a good look. Well, thank you all again. Thank you also to the listeners. I know that Kevin Conroy has always been a big impact on your lives as well. We asked a couple of people that were moved by the news to share a little bit about Kevin Conroy's Batman and also the impact that he had on their lives. So we'll be including those at the end of this episode. So we invite you to stay on to listen through those. And of course, if there is anything that you also want to share, please feel free to share with us through our social medias. I think we have an email address buried somewhere, but the social media is the best way that you can get in contact with us. And then that is it.
Oh,
RIP. Oh yeah.
no, I just wanted to mention one thing. Next week we are doing a Batman movie. Kevin Conroy is not in it.
Oh
So
yes.
all my opinions on that, they're not at Kevin Conroy. just want to lay that out right away. Separate guy, separate
guy.
story.
Yes. Yeah. Yes, it is. Oh man. All right. Well, before we go, Anders, I also want to invite you to share if there's anything else that you would like to include. Again, Anders is a part of the Forgotten Entertainment family. So again, I want to thank you again for this was a very quick call that we set up. So I appreciate you joining in very quickly for us.
No, guys, thank you guys for having me on. I will say, yet another Star Wars podcast. We are getting into the final stretches of Andor on Disney Plus, possibly one of the better Disney Plus projects that's come out of the Star Wars, the Lucasfilm division. Also, head over to the Bohemian Geek Studies feed. We've got a few new episodes, a couple coming out. We're exploring content that is way better than we think it has any right to be. And also forcing each other to engage in fandoms that we would otherwise have avoided, which is leading to a couple of funny interactions, I'll say. Never thought I'd sit down and watch 90 Day Fiance.
Oh, I thought you were going to start the anime conversation. I know that's something that we've been
Oh, that's all.
talking
Oh, yeah, no, that's coming. That's
about.
coming. Colleen finally got me to watch My Hero Academia.
Yes.
Oh, yes.
All right. Well, that wraps up today's episode. Thank you all again. And remember that to quote Kevin Conroy actually in this scene, you are not a disgrace, you are a knight, you are vengeance. We are all Batman. Hey, Shamar here again. Andrew and I got a chance to hear from many people who shared with us what it was like for them listening to Kevin Conroy's Batman over the last 3 decades. Listeners like Nicholas shared their favorite voiceover moments from the Justice League Unlimited epilogue episode featuring the conversation with Ace, as well as the full feature-length movie Mask of the Phantasm's graveyard scene, proving back then that an animated cartoon can handle serious emotions and topics. We also heard from many gamers who shared with us some of their most treasured memories of the Arkham series and how they played through the series countless times. Lastly, we heard from fellow podcasters who had this to say.
Hey guys, this is Pat Whalen with yet another MCU podcast. Thanks so much for doing this. I could go on and on about some of my favorite Kevin Conroy's Batman scenes, or how I even remember watching the animated series on Sunday nights. But I'll focus on 2 things his passing made me think about this week. Number one, he wasn't a celebrity in the traditional sense. Yes, we all knew him, but I think to the greater audience, most people didn't realize how important he was to our community. He was just a guy that did a job just like the character he was most famous for portraying. And, he enjoyed being this role and adding nuances to the character in each interpretation. And then number 2, he was my parents' age. And, his passing reminds us that our heroes are mortal, but the legacy and the impact they leave on us is immortal. So I wish his family well. And, yeah, that's it.
So one last time to Kevin Conroy, thank you. Your voice and impact will always be with us.